Welcome, everyone, to Drawing and Creating Genograms. I'm your host, Andrew Engstrom. Today we'll be helping you draw your family of origin genogram using our lovely fictitious family, the Bullmans. Introducing Mom and Dad. Oh, that got messy. I'll be using my Surface today. You can use pen and paper, of course. If you're doing it on an application, you might want to be zoomed way out so that you can zoom nice and far in to get details and rewrite names, as they can get kind of sloppy, especially using a computer pen. Here we've got Mom, that's Dad, and that's Mom. And here is Son. They have one biological son. The first rule of genograms is that boys are squares and girls are circles. The first pro tip is to make sure you leave yourself plenty of room, especially when you ask your client about their family and they chuckle and look at their partner because it's a very large or complicated family. Give yourself lots of space so that you can add marital partners, affair partners, previous partners, and divorces and next partners, not to mention plenty of kids. In this case, there is only one biological son between Dad Bill, who is 58 years old, and Mom, Jill. In this marriage, Bill had 2 daughters. One, Hill, who is now 32, and finally, Kate, 29. Let's say he had these with Kathy. And to make up an age, she's 52. So first we're going to finish up the symbols for who is where, and then we'll start filling in status and relationship symbols. So let's say we've got Hill married to Harry. Hello, Harry. Harry, let's say you're 38 now. And they've been married since 2014. Kate is not married, but she is dating. She's dating Cindy and is in a homosexual relationship with her. This represents living together or a committed relationship. Should be fairly obvious what you're doing there, and you can make any notes you need to around those things in case it isn't clear. There are many, many symbols in the genogram world, and it gets more and more confusing. My thought is keep it fairly simple, and then you can just write notes near if you need to. Hillary and Harry live in Bellevue. I really like writing where people live, and this isn't in genogram lore, but it really does help. So Jill hasn't been married previously, but did have a significant relationship before that. And we're actually going to put dotted lines because they were not married. In fact, this was a one-night stand. Let's zoom in for better clarity here. And this certainly does happen, and they do have a bit of a family secret here. And that is symbolized with the darkened triangle. Family secret or scandal. This could have been the result of date rape. But let's say that you found out from an aunt or something and not from Mom directly. Many times affairs and things like that actually do come out from a family member. From that relationship, we have someone no one talks about. Bruno. Let's say he's around your age, 19. We could put him chronologically to the left of you because he's older. This is a good case, I think, to break that rule because it gets so confusing. Let's say he lives in Arizona. If it's out of the area, I think it's fine to just put the state. Mom also had several dating relationships, and this is where I get fairly messy. And sometimes if it's just so many nobody can count, we don't really know, you can just put an ellipsis to say there were many. And there is a suspected abortion in one of these relationships as well. You can just put a question mark next to that. And you could also put the family secret, and it may well have been scandal in her family as well. Now, let's fill out where Bill and Jill are at now, because they were divorced some time ago in 2016. D for divorce, but they actually mended that divorce. The 2 lines means divorce. The cross line means resolved, came back together, reconciled. After that, fairly quickly, they separated again. I'm going to put an S for separated in 2017, and much to the dismay of all their children, ended up finally divorcing, and that went through and was finalized in 2019. It's usually not that complex, but just to give you an idea of what that would look like. Bill and Kathy were divorced after 15 years in 2003. Things went really crazy from there. Dad actually got married right away. And for whatever reason, Will or you has even forgotten her name. And I've seen that happen. Pushed out, maybe didn't even really want to meet her, or didn't meet her. They were married in 2003, and they actually divorced in the same year. And that is because Dad actually had an affair on the unnamed partner or wife. Both are unknown. So we'll put another triangle there. This is how I do affairs, or how you do affairs, is to have that halfway again on that. Let's call this the life line. And so that happened in 03. It's nice to put dates on there, especially when you're referencing something. It's a great way to keep a record of your family. So that's where everything really started going crazy for everyone, and when Kate moved away. So let's get into a little bit of relational markings, because Kate is cut off from the family. She's hurt, she's mad, and she's moved away. Hillary, hurt also, mad also, but is not only this is 1 line would be positive relationship, 2 lines would be very close, and 3 lines is enmeshed. And that's where there's an unhealthy amount of closeness, where the 2 are almost 1. They can't do things separately. How one feels impacts the other so much that a lot of their life revolves around the other person, usually not with great pleasure. Harry and Hillary have had not 1 miscarriage, but 2, and have had a very difficult time. This was in 19. This was in 21. And in doing IVF, succeeded in getting pregnant once again, and came full term, unfortunately, and very much to their great impact in life, had a stillborn baby. The baby was 8 months old. Let's put IVF and this baby's name. Haley, Hillary, and Harry. And now, to their dismay and a lot of fear and trepidation, and so that we can get all of the baby symbols, they are pregnant, and we don't know the gender or name yet. So, triangle for pregnant, darkened circles for miscarriage, and if it's a stillbirth, meaning the child was actually born, but was dead on arrival, or died right there, it's a square with the death X. And we'll see that in others. So let's really quick finish up Bill's family. There's some interesting things that happen there. We won't fill all of it out. Here's Dad. There's some interesting story around him. Well, and here is their line. Bill is the firstborn and has 1 brother, Danny, who is 55. We'll talk more about that. There is one important detail that we're not going to want to miss, and that comes from Grandma's family. For now, we're going to skip Grandma's name and just say that she has a relationship with Grandpa. This is important. We'll get to in a second. Let's finish up Mom's family, Jill. Jill has one mom and one dad as well. Oh, what have I done? I decided to just do this in one take and not go back and try and get it just perfect anymore. And you can see how difficult it is. It's not any easier on paper. You have more control. But when you can erase things and move them around without pencil marks or pen marks especially, things get a lot easier in that way. Genograms are very easy to have to backtrack, so that's why I'm going over this in more detail. These people live in Oregon. This grandpa and grandma live in Spokane, Washington, so we'll give it the city name so that we can see they're in the same state. And Jill is not an only child, but there's only one other, but she's a bit of an only child in that she's a twin. Here's Jamie. She's not only a fraternal twin. That's the symbol for twins. They go to a V in the same spot, but an identical twin, and that's how you mark that off. Jamie and Jill are sisters and very close. Howard is who Jamie married. And they have had 2 children, Jackie. Hi, Howard. Sorry, your name got a little messed up. Jamie's, of course, the same age as Jill, 51. Howard, let's say he is 53. And what better way to put Jamie, Jackie, and Howard together than Jamie, Jackie, and Mackie. We just call him Mac. Let's say Jackie's 24 and 21. When you get into nieces and nephews, it's fine to get smaller, but leave yourself room, especially if your parents have lots of different siblings. You're going to want a long, long line, because if it's a big family, sometimes they will have other big families, right? And your uncle and aunt will have actually 6 kids. Of course, as a therapist, you have clients surprise you, say like, oh, they have 9 kids, and you ran out of room, and that's where it's really nice to have a computer. Let's actually not forget one more. There's a family of 3. Hello, Jimmy. Jimmy was a surprise, but he happened fairly near to the sisters, so they were a similar age, 48. There isn't a symbol for a surprise. You would just mark that off. Surprise. You can point at him too, but it'll be obvious who we're talking about. All right, and now we will get into relationships. Starting with you and Phil, there's a distance there. You guys never really became good friends, and it was always very strange how that happened, and it felt very strange having Phil rhyme with everybody, and the parents seeming to make up for what happened here with Mom. Although you didn't know about it at the time, it's almost like Jill had some sort of theme of correcting something. These are the kind of themes you're going to see as you start to make the genogram and start to map out relationships. Let's say Will is also dating. Here's Lynn. Hi, Lynn. Wow, that didn't work out. Things have been a bit rocky, but you also have had a close relationship. So, actually, that's the wrong line, because you're not married. There is a breakup, and there is a restoration. Sometimes you can see that in relationships. But Will, though feeling very alone, has 2 other companions in life, diamonds for pets. Let's see if we can get a nice diamond there. Here is the cat, a Manx. Usually it doesn't important the breed for the cats, but for dogs, very often does matter, and the dog is a very close member of the family. So let's say that the yellow lab is named Kitty, have seen that before, but is a male dog of 2 years old. And here's Lester, the cat, who is 6 and also male. Not necessary, of course, to map out pets, but if they're important to you, please put them on there because they can play quite a big role. Let's also show you the line of lives with, or the circle of lives with, because Will is currently living with Jill, who is dating. Not married, as is usual for her, and you doubt whether or not she's going to get married. They've been together 3 years. He comes over a lot, but doesn't live there. That's where you're doing relationship descriptions without a symbol, and you don't need symbols for everything. So here is Jill and Will living together with no one else. But currently, let's say Kate has come into a problem in her relationship with Cindy, is separated from her, has come home to live with Dad. Phil also lives with Dad, who is currently living with his wife. We forgot to put her on here. Here's another fun thing that's happened. Her name is also Kate. I've seen crazier things. Kate living in the same house with Bill. What could go wrong? They got married in 2020 and have been together 4 years. There is a not so great relationship, not so surprisingly. Here is the line of hostility between Kate and Hillary, because Hillary and Bill have such a close relationship, but not pleasant. And you'll probably also see some interesting things between this Kate and that Kate playing a similar role. That beside the point, because we're not doing therapy here, right? Let's move on to how things are going with Jill and Paul. They are doing well, and actually Paul may be, Mom, really getting to a better place in life because he's got a positive relationship with Uncle Jimmy, and that's been really helpful because Jimmy is an addict. So here is how we do addiction, and this is really important to go over, especially after you've got the family filled in. I like to remember doing addiction, and there are also a symbol for medical or psychological illness. So medical and psychological illness is a vertical line filled in on one side, where addiction is vertical or is horizontal. The official way of marking someone in recovery from a drug or an addiction, because you can have a process addiction too, like gambling, even shopping, sex addiction, is to give half a square. What I prefer to do is the symbol for suspected addiction, because very often addictions are less suspected these days than they are found out or more obvious, and it's easier to draw. So I go with this would be Uncle Jimmy in recovery, but Uncle Jimmy also has a rheumatoid arthritis that's really bothering him. So we're going to go with this circle. You can see it's hard to go around the name, but it gives you the sense that something going on there, and it can give you the picture of, okay, there's something going on with this person here. Sorry for that arrow. In this case, he's dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, and that's where you'd make the note. The addiction is to weed and opioids, and Uncle Jimmy is in it pretty deep. Mom has not only been a caretaker, that's the symbol for caretaker, a small and a big arrowhead, and that can be a very important relationship, but she's also an enabler, and is basically helping Jimmy keep his addiction and not have to pay the consequences, of course. And things have been really tough, and Jimmy's been taking a lot of time and space from the family, so Paul having this positive relationship has been actually helpful for people. People are liking Paul. But there have been times of great tension between Jill and Jamie, and they had a separation. Happily, this cutoff was resolved, and that's a circle that goes between the two of them. Let's make that a little prettier. I love drawing those circles in a family. You see, Jamie also had This is actually a suspected addiction, but we don't need the symbol for suspected addiction because it's so easy to do this. She, we think, was abusing alcohol. And she and Howard being married since 2002, having Jackie identify as bisexual. That's not the homosexual triangle, but the bisexual triangle is dotted. There have been a lot of difficulty between Jill and Jamie on the matter. But they have resolved recently, and with Paul helping Jimmy, things are looking more positive there. How nice. There are some interesting things that have happened over in Bill's family. Let's talk about abuse. So Bill grew up with a father who was abusive. To him, physically abusive. But he and Danny have a really close relationship. And Danny idolizes Bill because he took the brunt and saved the family. And his role came out there, and also a lot of his pain, which you see acted out here. But Danny received abuse only in the form of verbal abuse. I don't know why the line erased. So, an open arrow. Mom also emotionally, verbally abused, but probably was used to that and had some lack of warning flags about an abusive man because her father was not only abusive, but the lines going down from this to the filled-in triangle is sexual abuse. Dad also brought alcohol into the picture and was a straight-up alcoholic. But now he has passed away, and look when he passed away. When people die, a lot of things happen and get activated in people. And in 2003, you see things happening big time. Those are patterns you want to watch for. And as you're writing things out on your genogram, you want to watch out for relationships, and you want to watch out for things like medical illness. Danny deals with heart issues and also mental illness, bipolar. And Bill is in recovery for his own abuse of alcohol, which was happening in 2003. That is the picture of a family. Now, this is a very complex family. You usually won't see that much going on, but your family will have plenty of things to put in there. You'll know what's more important, but do take note of addiction, of medical situations, how they impact the family, and also you want to note patterns that go from earlier generations down the line. What's going to happen with Will? Well, we hope Will is going to be a cycle breaker. And since he's our patient, that means he's doing therapy, and so we have good hope for that. Go get him, Phil, and good luck, everyone, as you draw your own families. If you can get up into your grandparents, all the better to see patterns, and all the more to drive you into getting your own stories, calling your family, and especially if you have an uncle that is perhaps a black sheep that you don't talk to, or someone that no one talks to. No one talks about Bruno. Call them. They are going to have an interesting perspective. They might have very interesting stories, and it might be healing for both of you. A lot of times there are family rules and rules about not talking to these people and stories that are actually very important that way. All right, that's it for the training here. Thanks very much.